That is why the COVID Cabinet Committee today approved a requirement that all 25,000 employees of the Alberta Public Service show proof of vaccination or a negative regular test results. The majority of employees within the broader Alberta public sector, including Alberta Health Services, post-secondary educational institutions, and government agencies, boards, and commissions have already adopted similar policies.
The human cost of vaccine mandates and vaccine passports is often forgotten. We think of these things as policies, health measures, but we don't experience the real stories of people whose lives have been turned upside down. Time after time, when we're out telling stories, we encounter people in the most surprising of locations who come up to us to share their stories about how their jobs, their educations, their careers, whatever it may be, have simply evaporated. They've lost all of it because of these vaccine mandates.
Dozens of friends who ended up getting the vaccine, but because they felt like they were politically blackmailed, they were backed into a corner and they felt like their life was over, and now they're miserable.
Warning, censorship.
Adam Soos here for Rebel News, and we are about to be joined by one of the stories that we happened upon, one of the people who has had their lives turned upside down by vaccine mandates. So I'm here with Jessica Whidden. We're actually here talking to your dad about the letter that he put out with Whidden Construction. And then we heard your story, which is incredibly fascinating. So we're fascinating and tragic, in fact. So perhaps if you could just start and let us know your circumstance. You, like many students, have been placed in a difficult and challenging circumstance regarding vaccine mandates. So maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, so I was a nursing student at Mount Royal University up until recently. I decided not to get the vaccine just between personal choice, and I have an issue with my heart and other medical conditions. And they told us that Alberta Health Services wasn't doing any type of accommodations for students. So I reached out to my advisor. I asked her, what do I do? She told me that I'm able to take all my theory courses, but I just won't be able to graduate. She wasn't helpful whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So I asked her, I was like, so anybody who wants to be a nurse, a doctor, or just work in healthcare, and they decide not to get the vaccine, whether it's personal reason or medical, they can't work in any of that. And she said, yeah, pretty much.
One of the things that we're certainly seeing throughout all of this is there's this talk about the healthcare system being entirely overwhelmed, and then nurses are being fired, nurses aren't being allowed to finish school. Particularly though, you had a focus in your education that is a field that not too many people volunteer for, and one certainly that someone compassionate like yourself could help a lot of people in. If you could talk about what you were hoping to do as a nurse.
Yeah, so I wanted to work in child cancer. I was in the unit myself for 6 years, so I wanted to go back, and I think it'd be very full circle. I've wanted to do that since I was in the unit, and now I can't, and there's even more shortage of nurses, but really, who's to blame there?
And it's extremely tragic. We've seen these same nurses who've worked for the past year and a half throughout COVID, helping people working in these, what the government would call high-risk situations. Suddenly, they've gone from heroes to no longer wanted. You have a very beautiful personal story where you've been through the oncological ward, and then you want to go back and contribute. Very much sounds like a dream that you're hoping to fulfill, to give something back after you received. What does it feel like for AHS mandates and regulations to deem you basically not enough of a person or not worthy of the capacity to go back and participate in this dream that you've had?
Yeah, it's very infuriating and it's devastating, because I then had to go into a career where I know I'm not going to be as happy, but it's one thing that can provide. And it's really infuriating because, it's my body, my choice when you want an abortion. It's my body, my choice when you want doctor-assisted suicide. But now it's not my body, my choice when you want a vaccine.
Unbelievable. Do you have other colleagues, other students who are in the same boat as you? I know we've heard from hundreds of students who are in the same situation. How many people are facing the same sort of exclusion?
So just at Mount Royal, 11 students were kicked out just for not declaring whether or not they were vaccinated. And then I have dozens of friends who ended up getting the vaccine, but because they felt like they were politically blackmailed, they were backed into a corner and they felt like their life was over, and now they're miserable.
It's unbelievable. And I mean, the like we said when we were talking to your dad, the thing that we're forgetting about is they write these policies, but time and time again, they're forgetting about the human cost. You clearly have a heart for this. You want to literally help children battling through cancer, you can relate to their story, you've experienced it, and they're saying no, they're saying that you can't do that anymore because you're not willing to get this jab. Do you have any words of encouragement for other people who might be in the same situation, who are facing the same kind of heartbreak over their sort of dreams evaporating right before them?
I think the longer people conform and the less people that speak out, the longer this is going to happen and the more people that are going to be fired. Yes, our medical system is going to be overwhelmed, but you shouldn't be blaming people who don't want to get vaccinated. You should be blaming the government. Like, we should have a government who governs for all and not just those that are vaccinated.
Jessica certainly isn't alone. Her story of heartbreak is one that countless people are feeling across this province and indeed across this country right now. We want to thank her for her courageous stance, and we encourage you, if you have a story like this, to reach out to us. We'd love to share it. I want to thank you all for tuning in. For Rebel News, I'm Adam Soos. While an apparent medical crisis is overwhelming our systems, nurses are being fired. Other nurses are not being allowed to finish their schooling to fill that void. This is incredibly troubling and just one of the many problems resulting from vaccine passports. If you agree that we need to put an end to vaccine passports, go to fightvaccinepassports.com.